Good morning. All right, we are going to make a snack. We're going to make deep fried chocolate biscuits. But I don't have anything Pillsbury or anything like that, so we're going to make it from scratch since that's what I've got. I've had a terrible time with snacks lately. The food pantry's been short on them, of course, and I don't have any money to buy any this week, so I got to make my own snacks. So the first thing I need is 8 ounces of flour. And this is a scale, obviously. Well, that's the end of that flour, I think. Well, there's just a little bit in case I need to dust the stuff, but we need 8 ounces of flour. I got 8.1 ounces. 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. I'm going to eyeball the cocoa powder, just 1/4 cup. There we go, it's probably enough. A half teaspoon of baking powder. This is to make sure it puffs. That's enough of that. One-fourth teaspoon of baking soda. Probably enough of that. A little bit of salt. Let's see. A little bit of salt. Cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. Here's the nutmeg. If you can believe it, I actually got this nutmeg from the food pantry probably 6 or 8 months ago. There's some nutmeg. Here's some cinnamon. Not too much. All right, I got just a little bit of allspice. Let's do a touch of allspice. Okay, half cup of brown sugar. Let's turn it back on. That's 4 ounces of brown sugar. Brown sugar has molasses in it. There we go. If you don't have any brown sugar, you can use white sugar. It's just fine. Oh, a little bit of vanilla. I gotta get some more of this. I'm almost out. This is another CVS brand. I got that from CVS. All right, just a little bit of that. Uh, Half cup of margarine. This one stick is a half cup. All right, so I'm going to slice this butter up. And as always, if you can afford butter, always get the butter. Butter is so much better than margarine as far as taste goes. That's butter. And a little milk. Alright, now I got my milk from the food pantry, so I want to pour it in a cup and taste it before I do anything. Okay, that milk is fine. And it's not going to take very much milk anyway, and it'll be easier to pour out of this cup. So let's mix in the butter in with the other ingredients. Let's go over here. And there's my recipe right there. I want to take off my watch before I put my hands in this. And I just want just enough milk to pull it together. But before I do that, I need to get this butter mixed in. And when you're dealing with biscuits, whether it's a traditional buttermilk biscuit or a dessert biscuit like I'm making, it's always easier to mix this stuff with your hands. Now, you can get a pastry cutter if you want. I actually own one, but they're pretty difficult and annoying to use. So I don't use it, and you'll find most chefs give up on the pastry cutter pretty quick too. But I want to get this butter mixed in. And it's just like you do your buttermilk biscuits. You want your butter mixed in until it looks crumbly. They say like coarse mill is what they say. Basically, you want to make sure that every ingredient has its own little bit of butter or margarine. Oh, there's a butter on the back of my knife. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Yeah, kind of. All right. Not going to be using that knife again. And it'll probably make a mess on your counter. It smells good, though. What does this smell good? All right, I think I about got it. The one thing about that margarine does have over butter is that it's a lot softer, so it's a lot easier to mix. But as far as taste goes and what butter does to a baked good, butter hands down. Margarine, if that's all you've got, you can certainly use it. Because as a kid, I used to make all kinds of baked goods, and all we ever had was margarine. And at that time, I didn't know there was a difference because we called it all butter. It was all butter. So, if you're worried about, hey, all I can afford is this dollar thing of margarine, don't even worry about it. Buy your margarine and make your dessert, and nobody's even going to know the difference. Trust me, because baked goods are so different from the stuff you buy at the store. Even if you buy the cheapest ingredients you can find, like I have, imitation vanilla, margarine instead of butter, cheapest baking soda and baking powder I can get a hold of. The only special ingredient I really have in it is that brown sugar. So don't worry about it, because your homemade baked goods, even with the cheapest ingredients, they're going to be just as good as any store-bought, if not better. In fact, they should be better. All right, so we just need 2 or 3 tablespoons of milk, but what we're going to do is get it to pull into a ball. So we're just going to really gently knead it. And you don't have to be as careful with this as you do with like a buttermilk biscuit, because we're going to deep fry it. But you want it to pull together and not be too sticky. think, honestly, what I put in here might be enough because it's pretty sticky. I think I might need the last little bit of flour I got over there. This smells good, though, I will tell you that. See, look, it's already starting to pull into a ball. I'm going to put the rest of the flour I got in that bag in here because it's really quite sticky. Oh, okay. I need to use the rest of that flour anyway. I do think it needs a little more chocolate, though. And this is what I like about baking. Everybody's like, baking is a science, cooking is an art. Nah, they're both arts. Because you can play with this stuff as much as you want. So, all right, we add a little more flour, a little more cocoa, and now I'm going to mix it all up. And if I need more milk, of course, it's in the cup. There we go. All right, I think I about got it now. Check that out. Maybe just a little more milk. A little more milk. All right, there we go. I got my dough. Chocolate biscuit dough. So we're gonna leave that there for a minute. Let's come over here to the stove. Boy, we were just here. All right, so there's the pan. All right, now I've got this oil here that I've had for a little bit. Now I do have a deep fryer, and I've used it before on this channel, but the deep fryer really uses a lot of oil. Like it uses one of these entirely. And I don't, and the reason to use a deep fryer is if you're going to deep fry a lot within the next, say, 7 to 10 days. I don't know that I'm going to deep fry anything else, so this pan is fine. I can deep fry, let the oil cool, and dispose of it in a jar. And that's what I'm going to do, because I don't think I'm going to deep fry anything else. I want to taste this because I've had it for a while. And no, it's not going to be hot. I just put it in there. Tastes like nothing. All right. I also have 3 of these from the food pantry, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable going ahead and deep frying something. They used to give the big bottles like the one I just poured in there, and they don't do it anymore. 10/17/2026. January 2027. 10/17/26. All right. I'm trying to find the one that expires first, and this would be it. We're just gonna add a touch more oil in here. There we go. You know, and that's the thing. If you had seen my food pantry hauls a couple of years ago, or even about 2 years ago, they were vastly different than what I'm getting today. It was way more food. Like a small order, instead of being 12 items, was 17. Your large order was 22. And when I stopped going a couple years ago, they had bumped it up even higher. Your small order was like 21 items, and your large order was like 27. So you'd get almost 2 weeks worth of groceries in one haul. It was incredible. And now what we're getting is just about half of that. And then we get cookies or Pop-Tarts, not once a month or once every other month, almost every week. And it was usually cookies. It was usually a full thing of cookies every week. And what I'm going to do with these guys, I'm going to turn them into little dough balls and then drop them in and bake them. Or bake them, fry them. Normally you fry biscuits. I need to figure out what I'm putting my biscuits in. I thought about making donuts, but I don't want to get that involved tonight. It's already, I don't know, it's after 5. It's probably almost 6. Now the TV's on, so I have no idea what time it is. But I am guessing it is almost 6 o'clock. Alright, so that's probably about ready. But you know how you test it? You can test it by flicking water onto the surface, or you can just take one of whatever you're making and drop it in and see what it does. Not quite hot enough. Because if it were hot enough, this would sizzle up immediately. And it's not. It is cooking, but it's not hot enough. Man, this dough is nice and soft. Even after all that extra flour I put in there, this dough is nice and soft. Alright, how are we doing? Yeah, now that's looking good. And while that one was in there, I went ahead and balled up the rest of them. So, let's put them in. Ooh, that is hot oil, boy. That's all that's going to fit in there. Glad I didn't put any more oil in there. All right, let's see how we're doing. Here's the other thing. You cannot walk away from grease like this. Not at all. So I have to stand here and watch these dough balls because I literally have a pan of grease right here. If you step away, this stuff ignites. And actually, somebody had that happen to them here. They were moving in and they had a pan of grease on the stove with the burner on. And I do not know why. But they forgot about it. And yes, it absolutely caught fire. Yes, it burned the kitchen. And it was a brand new trailer that the previous owners, might have been the previous owners, were going to rent. And they ended up having to repair the trailer before they could rent it because the guys that moved in literally that day caught it on fire. It was crazy. Fire truck came here and everything. These are looking great. All right, I need a drink. It is hot in here. Oh, thought I had a drink in my office. I do not. Turns out my drink was in the fridge all along. Yep, nice cold Pepsi. I don't really care what I'm drinking. I am not brand loyal at all when it comes to soda. Whatever is freaking on sale. Let's see. We're looking for a nice golden brown, cakey kind of thing. I hope these are good. Look good. They're bigger than I thought they'd be. They're really expanded. There it is. It's a nice cake bite, don't you think? Or actually, it's supposed to be a biscuit. But it really blew up pretty good. I think it is done, though, so we will slowly take these out of the oil. Now, if this were anything else, I would move this over closer to where I'm going to put them. But since this is a very hot pan of grease, at no point am I going to pick this up. There's some big biscuits. And here's the thing, they're going to cook a little bit more as they cool off, too. So, they're a little bit see what we got. Oh, shoot. Well, that made a mess. I'm alright. I'll have to wipe this stove off pretty immediately when I get done with this. Because grease on the stove is not good. Alright, so let's put the rest of these in. And I'll probably have to mop the floor right here too. This is not a what do you call it? Light cleaning food. You'll be doing some cleaning. Especially if you splash the grease like I just did. Ouch. That hurt. Alright, I am on the second batch of these biscuits. I have no idea when the battery died. But I've got the first batch in the bowl. I'm just waiting on this one. And they'll be done. And this made quite a bit, to be honest. Oh, look at that. Nice and golden brown on the bottom. Look at that. Now, are these going to be amazing? I have no idea. They could be amazing. They could be, yeah, I'd eat it with a little bit of sugar or icing. And they could be, bleh, this tastes like chocolate bread. I think this version cooked a little faster. The skillet's probably hotter. Oh, I turned the fire up. That's right. How high did I turn it up? Not bad. They're floating. Technically, they're done, but I'm going to give them a couple more seconds. When you're deep frying, typically when it's floating, it's done. But if you want a little more crisp on the outside, let's say you're doing French fries, sometimes they're not quite crispy enough on the outside if they're floating. I'm kind of treating these chocolate biscuits the same way. These really got massive. There's a lot of chocolate biscuit in that skillet. This might last me for a couple of days. Alright, I think these are done. Boy, that's a big biscuit. These are a lot bigger than I thought they'd be. I gotta mop the floor too. It is slick. Alrighty. Wow. And I got one more. Alright, I'm going to turn that off and move it. Well, I'm going to move the camera. So there's my bowl of chocolate biscuits. Alright, so that is an overflowing bowl. That made more than I thought it would. So we're going to leave that sit there for a minute. I've got to do something about this very greasy floor. So while we're doing that, there's my very greasy floor. I got to do something about that immediately. Now, this right here I got several months ago, and it came with its own spray. I didn't buy any more spray. This is my spray that's in it, but it does do a fairly good job. Especially for spot mopping. I got some stuff over here. So I'm waiting on the biscuits to cool off. So I might as well clean up this floor. That's one thing you'll notice. I don't go out of my way to clean because I got other important things to do. But if it is a safety issue, like a slippery floor or a stove that can catch on fire, you better believe it. I'm going to clean it immediately. Otherwise, it can wait. I think I got it. I'll know when it dries. Okay, and I have the bad news. I just cleaned the stove. Just cleaned it. All right, so then now we got to go look at that stove right there. And I got to get that clean. And some of you are going, Stacy, hasn't it only been about 3 seconds since you turned that fire off? You betcha. That's got a hole in it. That glove. Seriously, it's got a hole in it. If you're wondering what part of this is hot, this front one is pretty hot. That one, not so much. So that is how I'm able to move that. Alright, and now, since I've got gloves on, I'm going to take the trash out. Jesus. You want to see what the trash looks like? Tell you folks. There's the trash. I'm going to do this next since I'm already wearing gloves. I clipped my trash bags on with these right here. You guys actually gave me this idea. And I pick these up. And I put them back on here. And sometimes even with these on here, the bag will still try and fall in the bucket. Alright, so I got rid of that bag of flour. That's good. So what's next? Well, I'm not quite ready to eat those yet. So since I'm still back here and it's about 6 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and load the coffee machine. Now, I do not have a programmable coffee machine, so I load it the night before, then all I have to do is turn it on. Because if I don't, I end up with coffee everywhere, because I am not awake in the morning at all. Alright, so let me wash my hands. I think I can finally try these chocolate bites, or chocolate biscuits. You remember in the 80s and 90s when they were telling everyone that deep fried food was bad for you? You know, I don't hardly eat any deep fried food anymore. But I'm still big as a freaking barn. I was a lot thinner when I was eating all that deep fried food. And it wasn't like we were deep frying it in lard either. It was deep fried in vegetable oil. I was still thinner. This is all right. You could use a little glaze, or I might dip some of these in some honey. I don't know where my honey is. I don't know where my honey is. Oops. I accidentally put it in the fridge. It's not supposed to be refrigerated. So it's just got a hint of the cinnamon and nutmeg and the chocolate flavor. I think some chocolate glaze would probably be really, really good. Probably not going to make it though, but I am going to try one with a little bit of honey on it. Wish I hadn't refrigerated this. I'm going to try a little bit of honey on here. A little bit of honey. That's good. All right, those are pretty good. They're worth eating. I'll put the recipe in the description so you can make them if you want. I do recommend putting a glaze on them, and I might do that a bit later. Or having them with a little bit of honey. But yeah, these are worth eating. I like them. And they make a ton. Makes a ton. This is a gallon bag. All right, folks. I'm going to clean up this counter and get to editing videos. I hope you have a wonderful day. As always, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I will bring you another interesting video to you later, probably tomorrow. Or if you like little short story blurbs and writing prompts, there'll be one at noon and then again at midnight if you happen to be awake. Let's see, what else? Oh, if you feel like donating to the channel, if you want to support the channel, you can now donate via YouTube, or the GoFundMe and Buy Me a Coffee links are also still in the description. Also, don't forget to check out my stores. I now have a Printful and a PayHip store. PayHip has my handcrafted merchandise and knickknacks. Printful is the branded stuff, the Mr. Fuzz t-shirts, hoodies, book cover shirts like the one I'm wearing. Have you seen this shirt? Like the shirt I'm wearing? This is on that Printful website. So if you want one of the shirts like the one I'm wearing, it's on the website. All right, I think that's it, folks. Have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you later.